I'm gonna go over here and balance you out a little bit.
Yeah, that's it, right. Hey, you got the purple one. I like that. Yeah, right here is great. Audio sounding good back there? Seeing thumbs up and nods? Okay, good, 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 good. And Rachel, you're ready? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Senator Julia Coleman, and I proudly represent Carver County. I am also deeply proud to be a Minnesotan, where we excel at finding innovative solutions to our most pressing challenges. One of the biggest challenges we are facing is how to support employees who need to temporarily step away from their job to heal from the trauma of childbirth, or to support their partner in navigating life home with a newborn, to care for a sick child, or to hold their parent's hand at the end of their lives. When my grandmother gave birth to my father, she worked for the state of Minnesota, who told her she had 2 weeks to get back to work, or there would not be a job there waiting for her. Still healing and most certainly not sleeping, my grandmother hopped the city bus with tears in her eyes to continue working to support her family. Employers who can afford to do so have made leaps and strides in this area. We have made progress, but there are gaps in the system. Small companies, still recovering from the pandemic, often struggle navigating how to afford paid family leave. They struggle to compete with the larger employers who can afford to cover their employees' income and afford covering their position while they are away. Small businesses are competing with large companies to recruit and retain talent, and having the ability to afford a competitive benefit package is part of that equation. Many businesses use short-term disability to help support their employees, but it wasn't designed specifically for paid family leave, and it doesn't fully support the need. When I was pregnant with my first son, I worked for a small company that was only able to offer short-term disability. In order to survive the hit to my income, instead of resting after a long day of work, I would moonlight doing odd jobs in order to support my family while I recovered. Short-term disability only covers the physical recovery necessary from the trauma of childbirth. We know that the need is so much more than physical recovery for a mother who gave birth, but it's the only tool businesses who can't self-fund a paid family leave benefit have to use. We have heard this need from families and from businesses. Businesses want to offer their employees more, and families need more help. We looked for solutions to answer the question of how we help Minnesotans gain access in times of need to take care of themselves and their loved ones in a way that enables a healthy economy for all Minnesotans. Our proposal answers both needs. It will expand the availability of paid leave across Minnesota, particularly for those who work for small businesses. Businesses will be able to provide a competitive benefit that suits their workforce, and families will have more options to care for their loved ones in a time of need. This paid family leave legislation has two components. First, it authorizes the creation of a paid family leave insurance employers may purchase to offer their employees. This product is offered in several other states, has passed with bipartisan support, and is able to be written specifically with the family needs in mind. It is not an ill-fitting suit. Businesses can customize it to their needs and provide families with the coverage they need. To further help expand the number of employees offered paid leave as part of their employment, we will also include significant tax credits to help small businesses afford this option, enabling them to attract more talent by being able to compete with larger companies that are already offering paid family leave benefits. We hear about workforce development and retention every day. Businesses are looking for more ways to invest in their employees, and this gives them both the tools and the resources needed to make it happen. Most importantly, by working with private businesses and insurers, we can move quickly. Insurers would be able to put together products for businesses quickly, and the plans don't have to be one size fits all with burdensome regulations and penalties. It can be written with the workforce in mind and can be done without setting up a huge new bureaucracy at the state government. It is the simplest and fastest way to increase the number of employees with access to paid family leave. Our small businesses have been through a lot the last 2 years. They have shifted and changed strategies to meet the needs of consumers, recruit new employees, adjust to executive orders, supply chain problems, and a worldwide pandemic. They need a hand to make this happen, not directives, threats of fines, and difficult to understand regulations. When we work together, both the families in need and the businesses which employ them will benefit. That's the spirit of Minnesotans working together, and that's the plan we're offering here today. And I'd like to welcome my fantastic House author, Representative Rasmusson, to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. I'm State Representative Jordan Rasmusson, and I represent the Otter Tail County area. Just want to thank Senator Coleman for her leadership and passion on this issue. I can't think of a better legislator to be leading the conversation on a workable step in the right direction and answer on paid family leave. When I talk to employers, small businesses up in my area, they want to offer paid family leave to their employees. And the barrier today has been cost and the availability of insurance products that allow, especially small employers, to be able to affordably provide paid family leave. And it's important for Minnesotans to understand the key differences between our proposal here today and the Democrats' plan on paid family leave in House File 1200. The Democrats' plan would be a $1 billion payroll tax increase that would further add to inflation and hamper Minnesota's competitiveness, versus our proposal is taking tax credits and helping small employers to afford paid family leave for their employees. The Democrats in their proposal take a one-size-fits-all mandate approach that would actually risk private plans that are currently being offered in the marketplace that both employees and employers are happy with, versus our proposal today allows employers and employees to create an insurance product that meets their needs and their budgets. The Democrats' plan would require a new state-run bureaucracy. 300 or more new employees would have to be hired, and I see this as being MNsure-MNLARS 3.0 in terms of technology build-out and rollout, versus our proposal will leverage the private sector infrastructure that's already in place and be able to get more people more access to paid family leave quicker and more efficiently. Lastly, the Democrats' proposal is a partisan proposal. I've seen it in a number of the House committees that it has come through, and it has not won over bipartisan support, versus the proposal that Senator Coleman and I are introducing today. A similar proposal recently passed the Virginia legislature with near unanimous support and actually was sponsored by Democrats. And so this is a very serious proposal that we're talking about today. When I talk with Minnesotans, they want more access to paid leave, but they don't want to see a new big government program that increases payroll taxes and creates a new government bureaucracy. And so I'm really excited to be working with Senator Coleman and our colleagues here in the legislature to be discussing this proposal, moving it forward, and I think it's something that we can make progress on this session, and I think deserves bipartisan support, and it has earned bipartisan support in other states.
Thank you.
So thank you.
We're open for any questions if there's any.
Can you explain a little bit about how this insurance product would work? So would it be kind of like similar to my health insurance? If I think I might need paid leave at some point, I would my employer would pay a little, I'd pay a little? Like, would I have to sign up every year, or how does it work?
Correct. It's
Okay.
like any other benefit that employers offer their employees right now, and the bill that we're pushing is written broadly enough that insurance providers can write it very uniquely to each company. I envision them being able to say, here's our plan A, B, and C. Which one would you like to get for your employees? And really tailor it to each company, much like they do right now with, say, health insurance.
And then you pay like a monthly premium probably out of your paycheck or something like that as an employee too?
You absolutely can. It's written broadly enough that employers and the companies can decide that between themselves. Some employers cover 100% of the premiums for their employees. It is really broad.
Can you talk about how creating an insurance product would drive down the cost, and I guess the access, and what if, because it doesn't exist, what kind of hurdles that creates for small businesses by not having that option in state law?
I definitely think it drives down the cost because, like all insurance, it's people pooling together, pooling their resources together to cover the cost of the insurance. And our tax credits are significant enough that it will enable companies with fewer than 50 employees to really be able to access this benefit. They want to offer this benefit, but it's expensive and it's hard to do. And so the larger companies that can afford paid family leave already have great policies in place, and this is going to enable them to compete with those companies. And the small employers I've heard from, they want to give out paid family leave, but they can't right now. And the one-size-fits-all mandate isn't going to accomplish that in a way that is business-friendly. This is a way that is friendly for Minnesota families and young parents and businesses.
It's $50 million to go far enough, but by my math, that's about 16,000 employees, and we all know that there's considerably more than that around the state, probably that lack access to something like this. Are you just starting there, or what's the thought process there?
That's a great question, and I crunched those numbers myself as well. So we are going to put a separate bill through the taxes committee, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more if we want to notch that number up or down once we start to get a better idea of costs through insurance companies, and that is a starting point. We're going to see how popular this is, how many people need to take advantage of the tax credit in order to afford this, and continue those conversations later down the line.
Can you talk a little bit about the clause that specifically says the state can't be an insurer or provider of this type of benefit?
Yes, there was some concern that I had that if the state were a provider, that it would be impossible for private companies to compete with that. And so we wanted to specifically make this a private product and have the state stay out of it.
So companies will be able to decide whether they want to participate in this at all, right? And how much they would offer. So they could offer a week of maternity leave or 4 months, like whatever they want.
It's written broadly enough that companies can work with the insurance companies to find a plan that fits their budget. And we're hoping that the tax credit will enable them to make something that is really a competitive option. I don't see 1 week being worth your time and investment. It's not going to help you attract more employees. And so I don't think that'd be a savvy business move or a worthwhile endeavor.
Have you heard from the insurers whether they've got the capacity to take this on?
I have. And a lot of the insurance companies that are interested in this have been doing this in some of the states where this is passed. And they're seeing how it's worked and working out the kinks there and are excited for the opportunity to get into the Minnesota market.
Can you talk about how this is different from short-term disability, which already does cover some of these same things?
Absolutely. So short-term disability only covers the physical recovery from childbirth. It does not cover paternity leave. It does not cover if you have a sick and dying parent, if you have a child in the hospital. It only covers the physical recovery from the childbirth. So this would cover a much wider range of paid family leave.
On the tax credit, how did you come up with 3,000? Is that an average number of weeks that somebody works, that somebody would be off?
We set it kind of on the higher end, and we'll put it through taxes once we have a little bit more idea from insurers where we're going to fall with the need for tax credit to help small companies afford this. And so it might tinker down a little bit, but we're going to talk about that as we move forward.
Throughout this debate, it's not only been about the cost, but some small employers have talked about the they're concerned about being able to backfill, especially in a tight labor market. If you're talking about a small operation, is there anything in this bill or companion measures to come that would address how they fill in for employees who are on leave?
Again, it's written broadly enough that insurance providers can write that into the insurance policy as they work with small businesses or any business that wants to purchase this product. They can talk about if they want the insurance to cover paying for a replacement employee or just covering that employee's salary while they're out. It's written broadly enough that it really can be tailored to the needs of the market.
This approach has been tried in other states, and I think you mentioned Virginia. Are there other states that you can name off the tops of your head?
Yes, I think the first one coming to mind is New York, and help me out here. New York, Virginia, I think there's one other that's done it, but Minnesota will be unique in offering it with the tax credits to help small businesses afford it.
Why now? The DFL's been proposing their paid leave program for years.
Because I'm in the Senate, and this issue is important to me and my friends, and it's important to the women I've heard from in my district. It was important to me when I was having children. Now, granted, when I had my twins, I took 24 hours off, but that was my own decision being here in the Senate. But it was important to me when I had my firstborn son, and we only had short-term disability to cover my time out. And it's something that I've been talking to my colleagues about and got them on board with. And I think the timing is right now.
Have either of you talked to your Democratic counterparts? Because, as we talked about, they want to use the surplus for a down payment on payroll tax style full program. What is the temperature you're getting from them on an openness to something like this? Or maybe in the House specifically, but in the Senate
Sure.
too.
You want to talk about the House?
Yeah, my hope is that, we'll be able to, have a conversation on this bill in the House. It's an election year, so, I think politics might play into if they want to give an alternative proposal airtime. But again, I would just go back to the Virginia example, where I think in the Virginia House, it was unanimous support, near unanimous support in the Senate, was carried by Democrats. And I think, just making sure that the Department of Commerce has the ability to approve these types of insurance products is a no-brainer. And so it's my hope that we're able to move this forward with the tax credits for small business. And I see no reason why we couldn't get bipartisan support this session to make sure that we're able to offer more access to paid leave without an unworkable payroll tax this year.
You guys think this turnaround, I think it says in your bill that the benefit could be offered as soon as January of next year. Is that feasible?
I think that that's part of the reason this proposal is so great, is that the private market can work quickly to roll this out as soon as we give them the green light to do so.
What is it that allows them to sell this product to large companies now, but not sell it to small companies?
So I apologize if there's a misunderstanding. Large companies have paid family leave benefits right now because they can afford to cover that employee while they're out or spread their workload out amongst other colleagues. Small businesses don't or struggle to afford to offer paid family leave benefits. Nobody in Minnesota currently has paid family leave insurance because the state needs to authorize the creation of that insurance product.
So the insurance could be open to companies of any size if they wanted to offer that to their employees, the tax credit only to smaller businesses.
Correct.
Okay.
But the benefit has to come through the employer if the employer authorizes it. So like as a person who works for a company that isn't authorizing it, I could not go out and purchase it for myself. I would have to find an employer who would offer it.
It is written broadly enough for the individual market. I'm not sure if there would be a feasible way for the insurers to do that. They'd have to structure it in a way, what's to prevent someone from planning to have a child, buying the insurance, dropping the insurance as soon as they're off. But there is a component in the piece going through Commerce today that will allow 2 or more employees who want to join into a pool to get it. So, for example, the chamber could offer it as a benefit. The Farmers Union or Bureau could offer it. And so there's multiple ways to get it, even if your specific employer is not offering it.
It does seem though that this is where it can get expensive because generally this is going to be used by women of childbearing age or families who are planning to have children or adopt children because you can sort of plan for that. And so that's, and then once you're done having kids, like why would you keep it going? And so wouldn't that just make it kind of more expensive?
I think it would be like health insurance that you can't just buy it when you're going to get an appendectomy and then drop it. The insurers will, I'm sure, put protections around it, but it's going to be used for much, much more than just childbearing years. It's going to be used for when your parents are coming down to the end of the road and to the end of their lives. It's going to come if you have a sick kid that's going through a long process, long treatment. It's going to come for a number of things, including if you want to adopt a child. There's a lot of ways it's going to be used other than welcoming home a new member of the family.
Do you know how many 50 or fewer employee companies are in Minnesota? Can you ballpark just the universe we're talking about of folks who could eventually be eligible?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to look into that and we'll get back to you on that.
How long is the period that the insurance companies are offering for the covered leave in the other states? You know, is it like, does it not vary too, or is it like usually 10 to 12 weeks, or?
I'm not sure how long that they offer, because I'm pretty sure that much like the Minnesota plan, it's able to be customized to each company. So if they want to work with the insurance provider to offer 12 weeks or 6 months, it's really on a per company basis. All right, well, thank you all, appreciate it.
One last
Yeah.
question. This might be similar to Brian, you don't have an answer, but is there a sense of how many Minnesota workers today don't have access to some sort of paid leave to, again, get a sense of who might benefit from something like this?
That's a great question, and that number is really hard to track. Some of the numbers I've seen offered, they only look at if they have paid family leave specifically written into the company policy. They don't consider if they have short-term disability, the length of time, what's considered paid family leave. So it's a hard number to crunch, but if I get any insight into that, I'll let you know. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Representative Rasmusson, for helping me champion this in the House, and for some of my other young parents in the caucus to come show support. And thank you all.